Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall. Hope you're ready to dig into Luke chapter 21. We're going to start in verse 5. Jesus is going to talk for the second time in the Gospel of Luke about end times. But before we dig into the scripture, let's get each other talking. Let's have a little icebreaker. What's the most beautiful building that you have ever seen in person? What is, second question, second tier, what's the most substantial building that you've ever seen in person? And were those the same building? I visited Washington, D.C. once when I was in my 20s, and I was very impressed with the architecture. The Lincoln Memorial was my most favorite building when I was there. Gorgeous. But it wasn't the most substantial building that I've ever seen. I got to see the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco when I visited that. I've never been to New York, so I haven't seen the buildings there. When I think about those two buildings, it doesn't seem impossible to me that they could be removed from the face of the earth without me ever knowing that they were there. But not the whole city, that not all of Washington, D.C. could be removed without me knowing, and not all of San Francisco could be removed without me knowing. That's really something, that Jerusalem would be wiped off the planet and we wouldn't know it was there. Those images, when I think about them, bring, of course, to my mind the Twin Towers falling down on 9/11. And it is hard for me still to this day to comprehend how those magnificent structures could basically be gone after they crumbled to the ground. Very little was left. Well, now that everyone's talking, let's dig into this story a little bit more. Jesus' friends ask him the same question that many of us would have asked him if we had been given the opportunity to spend some time with him. It might not have been the first question we would ask him, but eventually we would say, Jesus, when will the end come? Now, the disciples were asking about Jerusalem because that's what Jesus had just spoken to. Maybe we would ask about America. How important is it for you to know when the end of the world will come? How important is that? On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put yourself on that metric? How important is the end of the world to you? And then added to that question, how much time do you spend thinking about the end of the world? Would you say rarely? I just rarely think about it. Would you say sometimes, or would you say often? Often I might find myself in my mind wondering, maybe even worrying about the end of the world. Jesus clearly communicates that he doesn't know when the end of the world is coming. So clearly, no one knows except for the Father. That's what Jesus said. So this is the last question in this subject matter. Do you like not knowing? Or do you think that it would be better if we did know? That's the question. Is it better that we don't know when the end of the world is? Or do you think it would be better if we did know? Well, let's move on to another line of reasoning in our small group. Jesus said that there would be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, which I told you on this last weekend that I believe means that the whole world will instantly know that Jesus has come back. If you're in a place on the planet where it is daytime, you will know the signs in the sun. If you're on a place of the planet where it is nighttime and the moon is out, you will know. And if you're in a place of the planet where there's no moon, no sun, the two lights that God established in Genesis are gone, the stars will still be out there. He named them one by one, and they will tell us that Jesus is coming back. Just for a second, share with the group what you think that day or night will be like. In your spiritual imagination, how have you dreamed this event will be? Next line of reasoning. Is there anything in this passage that makes you think that believers should worry or be afraid of the second coming of Jesus? Is there anything in this passage that makes you think that we should be worried about the end of the world? Are you afraid of the end of the world? If so, do you need to apologize to God for being of the end of the world? Finally, what do we like in this passage and what do we dislike? Every week I want you to share what your favorite thing was. My favorite thing in this passage is the reminder that redemption is one of the words, one of the images that is among all of the scary images in Jesus' conversation about end times. Redemption is done by someone else. We're bought back by someone else, which means for me that we are protected by the one who was willing to pay the price for us through the death of his son. That guards my heart so much. My favorite thing in this passage. What do I not like? I don't like that Jerusalem was wiped off the face of the earth. There's a part of me that wishes that I could go today and stand right where Jesus stood, walk right where Jesus walked. Jerusalem was wiped off the face of the earth. It's been built and rebuilt so many times that, well, we just don't know exactly where things happened. I wouldn't mind if we did. Every week, application, middle of the week, just a reminder for you of the things that you committed to on Sunday. Jesus gives us 3 legs to stand on when troubles come, when trials come, when tears come, when pain comes. So first, he tells us that we have victory. If we hang on to Jesus, we will stand when trials come. Second, he tells us of accomplishment. Jesus will use our trials. If we hang on to him, he will use our trials to show the world his power. I like that Jesus is accomplishing his purposes through me, even if it's through trials. And then third, completion. There is a finish line in life. My life and all of the life of the world. God is the one who is standing at the finish line, waiting to celebrate those who love him. I really like that reminder. Well, I hope that you have a great discussion in group. God bless. I will